Welcome back again, and today we are going to continue with ESL vocabulary. Non-distinctive features, phonetic features of phones that are predictable by rule, example, aspiration in English. Non-phonemic features. Non-redundant, a phonetic feature that is distinctive, example, stop, voice, but not aspiration in English. Nonsense word, a permissible phonological form without meaning, example, slithy. Nostratic, a hypothetical language that is postulated as the first human language. Noticing, when learners pay attention to the form, use, and meaning of the language. It is an important part of learning a new language, but it will only occur when a learner is ready to take on the new language. Noun, n, the syntactic category, also lexical category, of words that can function as the head of a noun phrase, such as book, gene, sincerity. In many languages, nouns have grammatical alternations for number, case, and gender and occur with determiners. Noun phrase, NP, the syntactic category, also phrasal category, of expressions containing some form of a noun or pronoun as its head, and which functions as the subject or as various objects in a sentence. Nucleus, that part of a syllable that has the greatest acoustic energy, the vowel portion of a syllable, example, /i/in/mit/meet. Objective case, pronouns such as me, you, him, her, it, us, and them. They are used as an object in a sentence. E.g., it is hers. Obstruents, the class of sounds consisting of non-nasal stops, fricatives, and affricates. See sonorants. Omniglot, the writing systems of languages. Onomatopoeia/onomatopoeic, words whose pronunciations suggest their meaning, example, meow, buzz. Words like buzz or murmur that imitate the sounds associated with the objects or actions they refer to. Onset, one or more phonemes that precede the syllable nucleus, example, /pr/in/prist/priest. Open class, the class of lexical content words, a category of words that commonly adds new words, example, nouns, verbs. Open classroom, the idea of the open classroom was that a large group of students of varying skill levels would be in a single, large classroom with several teachers overseeing them. It is ultimately derived from the one-room schoolhouse, but sometimes expanded to include more than 200 students in a single multi-age and multi-grade classroom. Optimality, theory stating that a universal set of ranked constraints with high-order constraints. Oral cavity, the mouth area through which air passes during the production of speech. See nasal cavity. Oral sound, a non-nasal speech sound produced by raising the velum to close the nasal passage so that air can escape only through the mouth. See nasal sound. Orthography, the written form of a language. Spelling. Otto Jasperson, the man credited for the spelling rules after the Great Vowel Shift. Outcome sentences, a teacher can post sentence starters on the board or transparency, such as I wonder, that I discovered, that I still want to know, that I learned, that I still don't understand. I still have a question about, that I will ask a friend about. Overextension, the broadening of a word's meaning in language acquisition to encompass a more general meaning, example, using dog for any four-legged animals including cats or horses. Overgeneralization, when children make errors such as gooder, good, rund, and mouses, treating irregular verbs as regular. This shows that the child has acquired the regular rules but has not yet learned that there are exceptions. Palate, the bony section of the roof of the mouth behind the alveolar ridge. Palatal, a sound produced by raising the front part of the tongue to the palate. Palatalization, the process of sound change in which a non-palatal consonant, like K, changes to a palatal consonant, like CH or SH, example, French chêne, pronounced with an initial SH sound, developed from Latin catena, pronounced with an initial K sound. Paradigm, a set of forms derived from a single root morpheme, example, give, gives, given, gave, giving, or woman, women, womans, women's. Paradox, a sentence to which it is impossible to ascribe a truth value, example, this sentence is false. Parallel processing, the ability of a computer to carry out several tasks simultaneously as a result of the presence of multiple central processors. Parameters, the small set of alternatives for a particular phenomenon made available by universal grammar. For example, universal grammar specifies that a phrase must have a head and possibly complements. A parameter states whether the complements precedes or follows the head. Paraphrases, sentences with the same truth conditions, sentences with the same meaning, except possibly for minor differences in emphasis. Example, he ran up a big bill and he ran a big bill up. See synonymy. Paraphrasing is finding another way to say something when you don't know how to say it, which is a common situation for language learners. Paraphrasing is particularly essential for language learners so that they can develop communicative ability beyond their existing knowledge of language. English learners may require repeated exposures to a word in order to hear it accurately, since they often lack the auditory acuity to decipher sounds of English words. Parse, the act of determining the grammaticality of sequences of words according to rules of syntax, and assigning a linguistic structure to the grammatical ones. Parser, a computer program that determines the grammaticality of sequences of words according to whatever rules of syntax are stored in the computer's memory, and assigns a linguistic structure to the grammatical ones. Participle, the form of a verb that occurs after the auxiliary verbs be and have. Example, kissing in John is kissing Mary is a present participle. Kissed in John has kissed many girls is a past participle. Kissed in Mary was kissed by John is a passive participle. Passive sentence, a sentence in which the verbal complex contains a form of to be followed by a verb in its participle form. Example, the girl was kissed by the boy. The robbers must not have been seen. In a passive sentence, the direct object of a transitive verb in D structure functions as the subject in S structure. See active sentence. Past perfect tense indicates a past action happened before another past action. For example, Jose had walked 2 miles before he began to get tired. Pedagogy, the theory, methods, and practice of teaching. Peer review, when a teacher asks another teacher to come into their classroom and observe what they think is working in the classroom and what may not be working. Performative verbs, statements and warnings like, I hereby, I promise, I bet, I warn, etc. Performance, linguistic, the use of linguistic competence in the production and comprehension of language, behavior as distinguished from linguistic knowledge. Example, linguistic competence permits 1 million word sentences, but linguistic performance prevents this from happening. Performative sentence, a sentence containing a performative verb used to accomplish some act. Affirmative and declarative, and are in first person, present tense. Example, now pronounce you husband and wife, when spoken by a minister in the appropriate situation, is an act of marrying. Performative verb, a verb used in certain usages of which result in a speech act. Example, resign when the sentence I resign is interpreted as an act of resignation. Perimeters, set variations across individual languages. Persondixis, the use of terms to refer to persons whose reference relies entirely on context. Example, pronouns such as I, he, you, and expressions such as this child. See deictic, time deixis, place deixis, demonstrative articles. Perspective of culture, looking at culture to discover how languages are learnt. Petroglyph, a drawing on rock made by prehistoric people. Pharynx, the tube or cavity in the vocal tract above the glottis through which the air passes during speech production. Phone, a particular realization of a phoneme. Phoneme, a contrastive phonological segment whose phonetic realizations are predictable by rule, abstract basic units that differentiate words. Phonemic features, phonetic properties of phonemes that account for their ability to contrast meanings of words. Example, voice, tense. Also called distinctive features. Phonemic principle, the principle that underlies alphabetic writing systems in which one symbol typically represents one phoneme. Phonemic representation, the phonological representation of words and sentences prior to the application of phonological rules. Phonetic alphabet, alphabetic symbols used to represent the phonetic segments of speech in which there is a one-to-one relationship between each symbol and each speech sound. Phonetic features, phonetic properties of segments, example, voice, nasal, alveolar, that distinguish one segment from another. Phonetic representation, the representation of words and sentences after the application of phonological rules, symbolic transcription of the pronunciation of words and sentences. Phonetic similarity, sounds that share most phonetic features. Phonetic transcription, the spelling of a word in terms of the individual phones it contains, using a phonetic alphabet, as opposed to ordinary orthography, example, phonetic, for phonetic. Phonetics, the study of linguistic speech sounds, how they are produced, articulatory phonetics, how they are perceived, auditory or perceptual phonetics, and their physical aspects, acoustic phonetics. That is all the time we have for today. I hope to see you next time.